At Christmas dinner, my son stood up and said, "We, the children, have decided that you are no longer a member of our family." I laughed and handed him an envelope. "Here is my parting gift for you all." As soon as they opened it, they started screaming. "My name is Joy, John, and I want you to understand something from the very beginning. I am not a victim. I may have been one once, but not anymore, not after Christmas dinner 2023. Picture this: my Connecticut home, all 6,000 square feet of it, decorated for the holidays like something out of a magazine, crystal chandeliers casting warm light over mahogany furniture, a Christmas tree that touched the 12-foot ceiling, and a dining room table that could seat 14 comfortably. Everything perfect, everything expensive, everything that my late husband Robert had insisted upon during our 28 years of marriage. I'm 58 years old, and I've been told I'm beautiful my entire life, soft blonde curls that I still maintain, religiously striking blue eyes that Robert used to say could stop traffic, and yes, a figure that's fuller than it used to be, but one I wear with confidence tonight. I'd chosen a burgundy velvet dress that hugged my curves and made my eyes sparkle. I wanted to look perfect for this dinner. After all, it would be my last as their mother. The table groaned under the weight of Christmas dinner: prime rib, roasted to perfection, Yorkshire pudding, roasted vegetables with herbs from my own garden, and 3 different desserts. I had spent 2 days preparing this meal, just as I had every Christmas for the past 30 years. My 3 adult children sat around that table with their spouses and my 5 grandchildren, everyone chattering and laughing, completely oblivious to what was coming. Ethan, my eldest, at 35 sat at what used to be his father's place at the head of the table. Even at 35 he still carried himself with the arrogance of someone who'd never been told no. His wife, Sarah, a stick-thin blonde with cold eyes, picked at her food while making snide comments about the calories in everything I'd prepared. Claire, my only daughter, at 33 had inherited my looks, but none of my warmth. She spent most of dinner on her phone, occasionally looking up to criticize something about the house or the meal. Her husband, Mark, nodded along with everything she said like the spineless yes man he'd always been. And then there was Jared, my baby at 30, the golden child who could do no wrong, who'd been spoiled rotten by both Robert and me. He sat there with his new wife, Jessica, wife number 3, if you're counting, looking bored and checking his Rolex every few minutes. They thought they were so clever. They thought I didn't notice the meaningful glances they'd been exchanging all evening, the way they'd huddled together whispering when they thought I wasn't looking. They thought their sweet, naive mother was too trusting, too loving, too desperate for their approval to see what was coming. They were wrong. I was serving the chocolate trifle, Robert's favorite dessert, which I'd made every Christmas since he died 5 years ago, when Ethan suddenly stood up. He cleared his throat in that pretentious way he'd perfected in law school, the way that said everyone needs to stop what they're doing and pay attention to me. "I'd like to make an announcement," he said, his voice carrying that particular tone of authority he used when he was about to say something he thought was important. I set down the serving spoon and looked at him with what I hoped was polite interest. "Of course, darling. What is it?" He looked around the table at his siblings, at their spouses, even at the children who were old enough to understand what was happening. Then he looked back at me with eyes that held no warmth, no love, no recognition of the woman who had given birth to him, raised him, sacrificed for him. "We've been talking," he began, and I noticed how he said, "We, like they, were united front against a common enemy, all of us, and we've come to a decision." I folded my hands in my lap and waited. My face serene, my heart racing with anticipation. This was it, the moment I'd been preparing for, planning for, dreaming of for months. "We've decided," Ethan continued, his voice growing stronger with each word, "that you are no longer a member of our family." The silence that followed was exquisite. Even the youngest children seemed to sense that something momentous had just happened. I could hear the grandfather clock ticking in the hallway, the soft crackle of the fire in the fireplace, the almost imperceptible sound of my own breathing. I looked around the table at their faces. Ethan stood there with his chin raised, proud of himself for delivering what he clearly thought was a devastating blow. Claire was smirking, finally looking up from her phone to see my reaction. Jared was nodding along, as if agreeing that yes, discarding their mother was absolutely the right thing to do. Their spouses looked uncomfortable, but complicit. They'd known this was coming. They'd probably helped plan it. And then I did something that clearly wasn't in their script. I laughed, not a bitter laugh, not a hysterical laugh, but a genuine, delighted laugh that came from deep in my chest. I laughed until tears formed in my eyes, until my sides hurt, until everyone at the table was staring at me like I'd lost my mind. "Oh, my darlings," I said, when I finally caught my breath, "that's absolutely perfect. Perfect timing. Perfect delivery, perfect everything." I reached into my clutch purse, a vintage Chanel that Robert had bought me for our 20th anniversary, and pulled out 3 gold envelopes. Each one was sealed with old-fashioned sealing wax, each one marked with a name in my elegant handwriting. "Ethan, Claire, Jared, since we're exchanging gifts," I said, standing gracefully and walking around the table to hand each of them their envelope. "Here is my parting gift for you all." Ethan took his envelope with confusion clear on his face. This wasn't how this was supposed to go. I was supposed to cry, to beg, to promise to change, to do anything to win back their love and approval. "What is this?" Claire asked, turning her envelope over in her hands. "Open them," I said, settling back into my chair with the satisfaction of a woman who just played her winning hand. "All of you at the same time, They exchanged glances, clearly unsure of what to do, but curiosity won out, as I knew it would. The sound of tearing paper filled the dining room. 3 envelopes being opened simultaneously, 3 sets of hands pulling out the contents, 3 pairs of eyes scanning the documents I had prepared months ago, and then exactly as I'd planned, exactly as I dreamed about during all those sleepless nights when I'd lain awake plotting their downfall, they started screaming. Claire's shriek was the first to pierce the air, a sound of pure horror that sent her children scrambling away from the table. Jared's cursing followed words that would have earned him a mouthful of soap when he was a child, and Ethan, oh,